everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Louise, I am the maker on the move, and this week's video didn't quite go to plan. So if you saw the van tour video that I did last week, I was about to get started on the campervan conversions and all of the projects that I'll be making along the way. However, the weather had other ideas. Call me crazy, but I did not want to start a van conversion in the snow. Should we stay in here? Yeah, good plan. My whole video idea for this week got completely derailed. So over on my Instagram and Facebook pages, I asked you guys what you would like to see instead. There were loads of really good ideas, and some of them I've kept for a later date. But the one I decided to go with was to give you guys a show and tell of all the things that I have been making over the last couple of months. When I actually looked at it, the last show and tell video of all of the projects I've been working on was actually April last year. So it's almost a whole year since I did one. So I thought it was about time I caught you up on everything I've been working on. So if you don't follow me over on social media, it's at the Maker on the Move, and you can stay up to date on everything I'm doing in real time and also make lots of suggestions for what we do on the channel going forward. Say hi. If you're going to be here, you might as well say hi. Hey everybody. Good girl. So I had two new nieces born last year. One of them I showed you the quilt that I made for her in the last video, which was a safari blanket, and then I made this one. So baby Holly came in to our lives in June. It was unicorns, it was rainbows, it was cupcakes, it was all the adorable things, and I loved it. It wasn't a pattern I'd done before, and it was one I made up as I went along. It's so nice to see it being used all the time. It is so nice to put all of that time into a project and get to see it being used. This quilt is an on-point quilt, so it's diagonal rather than straight lines, but it is simply just squares and sashing. So although it looks a bit complicated, as long as you've got the right number of squares in each row, then it is no problem to make this pattern up yourself. I am currently working on some patterns for the quilts and things that I've been working on over the last year, so bear with me, and hopefully in a couple of months they will be heading to the website. Another great thing about this quilt is it doesn't actually use any plain fabric, so I always get asked if people should introduce a plain colour into what they're working on. Yes, of course you can, it's completely up to you, it is completely preference, but this quilt doesn't actually have any plain fabrics. Even the white has got a small pattern in it, and I think sometimes it's okay to just use all patterns and not feel like you have to put a solid in, because sometimes a solid can feel a bit jarring. I mean, if it's for a baby right pattern, their eyes pick up pattern, so it seems just right. Now, another baby project that I have worked on, that I have gifted, is bunting that I made for a family member. Now, this baby isn't actually here yet, but she's due any day, and it is very exciting. I made some small bunting the size of the shelf that was up in the nursery, and then some big bunting that has gone across the window that all matches and all uses the same colours. Very neutral, it's greys, it's whites, it's creams, and I was very happy with how it turned out. I gifted it at the baby shower that I went to a couple of months ago, and it's so lovely to see it been put up in the nursery, and it looks great. I'm so glad they like it, because I didn't tell them I was making it beforehand. Bit of a gamble, but I think it paid off. Also, another very quick project that I did was this pom-pom panda. It was so cute. It was from a little kit. They're only £2, and I love pandas. It was so easy. Kids could do it, adults could do it. I really enjoyed it. And it was just something silly, and it was great fun. So I've also been doing quite a bit of crochet this year. One of the things I have made is this little cat. It is really cute. It uses the Happy Cotton chenille that is from Serdar, and if I'm honest, I don't recommend it. It's quite difficult to use because the fluff comes off it. So the actual yarn is fuzzy. So I don't know if you can see, it's got a bit of texture to it. And as soon as you use it and then undo it, if you make a mistake, it all falls apart. It is quite frustrating to use, and this cat took me probably twice as long as it would have done, and twice as much swearing than if I'd used the regular cotton to do it. The pattern is great, really easy to follow. I added this bow afterwards just from my own brain, but I wouldn't recommend this yarn. But the project is very cute, and she sits on the desk in my office. So I've had two big projects that I've been working on over the last couple of months, and they've both been Christmas projects. If you've been here for a while, you know that my love for Christmas is never ending, and it's all year round. So the first thing I made was this quilt. I made the top from fabric that I bought in 2021 when I was over in the US for Black Friday, and when I went back to the US for Black Friday weekend in 2022, I took it with me, had it long arm quilted by a lovely lady named Annie while I was living it up in Disney, and went and collected it when I left. I mentioned this in my Florida series, so if you haven't seen that, you can go back and watch it. But here is is the full thing, and yes, I did have a blanket model. I could not be happier with how this has turned out. So I made the top and then took Annie the fleece backing. There's no wadding or batting in between. It's just the front and the back because I didn't want it to be too heavy or take up too much of my luggage space. She pieced it all together and did this beautiful long arm quilting on it, and then when I got it back I added the binding round the edge myself and the project was finished. It really is amazing, and to get it long arm quilted over here would have been £150, something like that, and I paid the equivalent of about 75. So obviously you have to fly to America so it's not the cheapest way to do it, but if you're already there, it's always worth having a look to see if anybody can help you out with your quilts. And she also vacuum sealed it for me, so it took up less space in my luggage on the way home, so that was very, very kind. I could not be happier with how this quilt turned out, and I feel like this is going to be an heirloom that I'm going to carry on, and it's going to go through the family. The other Christmas project I've been working on, I have finally finished, and it was the Serdar crochet along Christmas blanket. So this is a made by Anita pattern that I tweaked, so I add the reindeer section in myself, and I really loved following this project. If you don't know what a cal is, it's the crochet along, and designers release one part of the pattern every week for 6 weeks, 10 weeks, however long it is. So then you have a certain amount that you're supposed to do that week, and then the new part of the pattern comes out. Now, I got behind with mine because life happens, Christmas happened, and I didn't finish it until February. But it's a really good way to get a full pattern but not feel too overwhelmed with a huge project before you start. So the pattern came in a different colourway than the one I used, but I already had some yarn in my stash that I wanted to use. But also, if you're going to spend that much time on a project, you want to make sure that you like the outcome, and the bright colours in the original one wasn't necessarily something that I would want in my house. I'm more of like a jewel tone kind of person, so the burgundy and the bottle green were much more appropriate for what I would be using it for in the future. It's a bit wonky in places because my attention changed depending on the different part I was doing, but it's a blanket for me and nobody's gonna look that closely, and I just think, yeah, it looks amazing. Again, I'm super happy with how it turned out, and it was quite a few hours of work, so I'm very glad I like the finished project. Hang on a second. You go in? Good girl. Sorry about that. Also, as part of my day job, as well as doing YouTube videos and traveling the world, I also do a lot of teaching. So I teach at Patches, which used to be Sewing Days. Sewing Days no longer exists, but Gemma is doing an amazing job with the business that I sold to her last year. But I still go back there and teach a couple of days a week. I do one-to-ones and I do evenings and Saturday classes, as well as I've just got a new exciting opportunity that will be coming up after Easter as well. So I am very, very excited, and I'll tell you more about that another time. To teach the classes, I have to make the samples. So I'm teaching classes that I've taught before, that I have all the sheets for and everything. We wanted to introduce some new projects. So here is one of them. So we wanted to do a log cabin quilt. These aren't necessarily colours that I would choose for me, but they look really great in the shop, and that's where it's going to live. So Gemma picked them and I think it looks great. Log cabin is something I've taught as part of the sampler quilt that I did in the past, but it's not something that I've done a whole project of. It's a really straightforward quilting block, and it's a really good one to start with. So if you are new to it, it's definitely one to keep in mind for the future. If you do want to see anywhere I'm teaching, by the way, you can either head to my website or head to the Patches website, and then you can see all the classes that we have coming up. Just a shameless plug if you live nearby. Okay, now onto projects that I am currently working on. So I am making this cardigan pattern. Again, it's a Serdar pattern, and again, I've switched the colours. So a couple of years ago, I made a temperature blanket. So if you're not sure what a temperature blanket is, I did a whole video on it at the time, and I will tag that down below. I had a lot of yarn left over in all of the rainbow colours, and I saw this pattern and I thought this would be such a nice rainbow cardigan poncho situation. It'll be great in the camper van and for festivals and just for being snuggly in, really. We all know I love a rainbow, so it makes sense to have a rainbow cardigan. I've made these 2 granny squares so far, and this is what makes up part of the back, and then I've got a lot more crocheting to do, so this is a very, very early part of this project. When it's finished, it's going to be amazing, so stay tuned, and hopefully it won't take me another year to get it finished. Also, embarrassingly, one of the projects I'm currently working on is a honeycomb blanket. Now, the reason it's embarrassing is because it was in last year's video of things I am currently working on. Hi everybody, Editing Louise here. So I just checked and it wasn't actually in my last video or the one before or the one before that. It's from a video that I was working on in June 2021. It's now March 2023, so please leave me a comment down below to let me know I am not the only one who does this, and I promise the honeycomb blanket will be finished this year. Anyway, back to the video. I definitely fell out of love with this project, but we've all got those projects, right? We've all got those half-finished UFOs, unfinished objects, and those whips, the works in progress, that we are working on, and they go in a cupboard never to be seen again. So when I was sorting out my craft room, again, I did a video down below, blah blah blah, I'll stop saying that now, I found this in the back of a drawer and I thought it was time that I cracked on with it. Now the reason I got bored of this project and fell out of love with it was because I didn't check my dye lots before I started. I know. That is literally one of the first things I teach when I teach crochet, is check your dye lots, otherwise your project might be different colours, and mine is. It is very slightly stripy. It's stripy enough that it's annoying, but if I didn't point it out you might not see it. But the problem we have is I've seen it. So now I can't unsee it. But at this point, I just want to get it finished. It's a beautiful blanket. It's a pattern I've been saving for a long time and I love the colours. So this time I'm just going to crack on and try and get it done. So future projects I have coming up, I've got a lot more teaching that I'll be doing. So there'll be more quilt patterns coming. There'll be crochet objects, more macrame, all sorts of different things. So I've got a lot whirring around in my brain of designs that I want to make. But in the really near future, weirdly, I need to make a carrot. So my other niece turns 5 this week and my mum's bought her a toy rabbit for her birthday present. So I got a very strange text from my mum that just said, "Hi Louise, please can you make me a carrot?" I've got no idea if it's sewn, crocheted, what it is, but I need to make a bunch of carrots for a toy rabbit. Anybody else do weird stuff like that? If you get weird requests from your family and friends, let me know in the comments down below what the strangest thing that you've had to make, and I just can't wait to see your responses. But we all know the big project I have coming up is the camper van. So it is a different kind of making, lots of woodwork, all sorts of different skills there. But like I've said, I'm going to be doing so many sewing and crochet projects along the way. I need to take up the curtains. I need to make some small curtains to go in the bulkhead. I've got lots of cushions to make, some bunting, and probably 1,000 things that I haven't even thought of yet that will make the van super cozy once I have started the refit. Hopefully the weather will be kind and I'll be starting those projects next week, but at this point, who knows? So that is it for this week's video. I hope you've liked seeing the projects that I've been working on. Also let me know in the comments down below what you are currently working on, because I love to see it. Like I said, follow us on the social medias to stay up to date with everything that's going on and to make suggestions for the channel, and I'll see you next week for another video. Have a good day, guys.